Okay, welcome. I'll call this meeting to order, and welcome to the Tuesday, September 6th, Sioux Falls City Council Informational 4 p.m. meeting. And we do have a rather full agenda today, so we'll have to keep that in mind as we move through the different items on our agenda. So the first item today is a staff report regarding the City Administration Building Initiative petition effort, and that'll be presented to us by City Clerk Tom Greco. Welcome, Tom.
Good afternoon, Council Vice Chair and Council members. I'm going to provide a short, I have about 8 slides here, update kind of on where we are with the petitions, provide some clarification to all of you just on the process itself, and of course take any questions that you may have at the end. So let me get into it, and really I want to start at the beginning and what our process here in Sioux Falls is, which is not dissimilar from other municipalities in terms of starting the petition process. In our office, we register people to circulate petitions. We don't register petitions in and of themselves. This is language from our ordinance. I highlighted some of it. Registration shall include only 4 things: the organization, address, contact person, and language of the proposed ordinance or resolution. Again, in our office, there's no registration of the petition form itself. On occasion, if folks do ask for assistance, we're more than happy to point them in the right direction. Very specifically, there were several signatures, in fact, all of the signatures that I randomly tested or counted that were deemed invalid. Invalid primarily because of the form that was used. Now, specifically on that form, the incorrect portion was the circulator verification. That's that portion where the circulator takes an oath attesting to certain things. And I have a copy of that oath up here, but I want to point your attention first to the rule in which that is rooted. And that's South Dakota Codified Law 9-20-9. You can see up there what it says is any person circulating an initiative or referendum petition shall verify that each person signing the petition is a resident and qualified voter of the municipality. So below that, the rules that were promulgated by the Secretary of State, those are the verbiage is included below. The correct verbiage, which should have been on the form, is there, as well as the verbiage which is incorrect. It happens to be the statewide initiative verbiage, and maybe county for that matter as well. I did highlight some of the verbiage between the 2 oaths, just to highlight some differences, but really I think the key thing to look at is the law that lies above it. I did check myself. I checked with the Secretary of State's office to ensure that I was not misconstruing this. I checked with the City Attorney's office, and all were in agreement on my decision. Moving on to what I actually looked at, the rules that govern how petition signatures are counted. So I'll start with the very first rule in the series of rules outlined in the Administrative Rules of South Dakota. That first rule says when a petition is presented for filing, the person or governing board authorized to accept the petition for filing shall determine if it meets the following requirements for acceptance. Number 1, the petition is in the form required by this chapter. I omitted the other items for brevity. The very second rule that's outlined in the chapter says requirements for counting signatures on a petition sheet are as follows. No signature on a petition sheet may be counted if one of the following conditions is present. The form of the petition does not meet the requirements of this chapter. Again, I omitted other items which are not germane to this discussion. The courts have weighed in on the idea of verification itself. And I'll present over the next 3 slides just 3 among many examples. In Anderson versus City of T, they discuss verification and responsibility. Requirements for the circulation and verification of petitions, whether statutory or administratively adopted, are substantial in character and not merely requirements of form. It goes on to say that the onus falls on the petitioner to ensure that each sheet of paper in a multi-sheet petition is a self-contained document in compliance with state statutes and regulations. In Larson v. Hazeltine, they discuss discretion, of which I have none in this case. An election official's duty is a ministerial one, not subject to the official's discretion. If a petition sheet or a circulator's verification fails to strictly comply with a statutory or administrative rule requirement pertaining to the validation process, the election official must reject the petition sheet and/or signatures contained thereon. It goes on to explain, an item required by statute or administrative rule is considered an essential element, and its omission is not a mere technicality to be disregarded. Finally, in Corbley versus Colton, they discuss liberal construction. And they say, although SDCL 2-1-11 states that the referendum and initiative statutes are to be liberally construed as not to defeat the real intent of the petitioners on a mere technicality, petitions which fail to meet the substantial requirements of statute or rule are invalid. These requirements are for the purpose of ensuring the integrity of the petition process. They also state a petition without the proper circulator oath and verification is invalid, and you can read the rest. So I just wanted to provide some explanation, discussions that I've had with various officials over the last couple of weeks regarding this process in and of itself. So with that, I'll leave it to any questions you have.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Tom. And I will open it up to councils. Yes, Councilor Neitzer.
Tom, I told you this privately last week, but I want to tell you publicly that you've taken a lot of abuse. It's been very unfair. You followed the letter of the law, which is your job. I talked to the Secretary of State's office. They agree with your assessment. They would have thrown them out as well. You don't have any discretion in this matter. I'm sorry you've taken the abuse that you've had to take, and I give you my full support.
Thank you, Councilmember Neitzer. It is my job.
Any other questions from council? Councilor Starr.
Yes, Tom, I really appreciate what you've done. Again, you followed the law, and that's what we expect from the court. There isn't discretion, as you said, in doing your job. We may disagree on whether it's a technicality or a legal technicality at some point, but I do agree that you followed the letter of the law to the best of your ability and appreciate that. My question is, when you determined that the petitions were invalid, what was the next step? Because you continued on to review the number of signatures that you had to,
right,
the random number of signatures that you needed to review. That process was completed as well at that point? Yes,
so I mean approximately sometime Monday we completed that. We had to go through and still check each petition, look at it very deliberately. Tamara Jorgensen, the assistant city clerk, and I were going through the process. We basically double-checked each other's work. So yes, we had to go through all 321.
So out of those 321 signatures that you checked, how many were invalid?
All of them.
Well, based on the form being that, but you checked to make sure that address was correct, the person was a registered voter through that process. I guess that's as
we check about 40 things for each signature between the form and the signature itself. I don't have that specific number. It's within my working papers, but our process, what I did as we went through each one is just coded it as valid or invalid. And the first thing, well, actually like the fourth thing we look at is that circulator verification. So
would it be proper to say that there were a sufficient amount of signatures submitted?
I couldn't answer that right now. My opinion, my factual answer is that there are no valid signatures.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Starr. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Tom. You did do your duty as prescribed by law, and for that, I appreciate that, as well as members of the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that moves us on now to item number 3, City Council open discussion. Any items for open discussion? Councilor Starr?
I just want to do this rather quickly. This morning I was able to tour Feeding South Dakota as part of their new facility, but with a group of Sioux Falls City employees who are preparing for the second annual 5 for Life 5K. And I wanted to thank the employees of the city for participating in this program and the worthy cause that it is.
Okay, great, and appreciate those comments. Any other items? Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. Just wanted to make a mention. Last week I did ride along with Project Trim. Now, it wasn't near as exciting as my ride along with the police department, but it certainly was eye-opening to watch the process in how they they go about making sure the trees are over the streets. And I found myself driving along the streets, picking out the trees that were certainly lower than the 12 feet area. And we talked, Rex was the forestry worker that I rode along with, and we were out riding along for a good hour in the neighborhood that they are coming to next. And so we discussed how can we make the process better, how can we really service the citizens better to make sure. The process is pretty good. I was actually kind of surprised. I think that there's still room for improvement, but it certainly is a pretty good process that they go about doing it. 2 people ride in the truck. They have a little measuring thing up top, and if it hits that, you're out of compliance, and they mark it down, and that's who gets the letter. And what we talked about is somehow marking those branches, and to physically get out and mark every single branch and still come and make sure you're in compliance the second go around is just not feasible. The dollars that it would take to do that would be really difficult. But we did talk about, and I'm not advocating for this, but something I brought up is those that can't afford to do it, or those that can't afford, maybe there's some sort of a grant where it's income-based and you qualify for having the assistance for those trees that you need cut. But they will come out and meet with you if you need that as well. So it was interesting. I learned a lot about the program, and encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity, to go ahead and look at that system that they have in place.
Thank you, Councilor Erickson. I too have had I didn't do a ride-along, but I have had discussions with Don Carney with the Parks and members of the Forestry Division, and there is a concerted effort to try to make it more user-friendly, because both you and I have had our own experiences with that, and so they do realize that there is room for improvement, and they're attempting to do that. Any other items for open discussion? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to item number 4, and we have a pretty big contingent here. We have the CVB cheerleading squad here as well, and I will point out that they were kind of making fun of the premier group over there, that they were so outnumbered, but I am happy to report that the Sanford Premier Center has picked up a few more supporters. So with us here now, Terry Schmidt, and she's going to report on the 2016-2017 Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. It's good to be here today. And actually, we invited Terry to come over to join us because we do work together a lot, but we just have to keep that fine line between the two of us sometimes, because people like to think we don't get along when actually we get along famously. So anyway.
Confirm that the invitation was issued.
Thank you so much. Terry, did you hear that? All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. I know we're on a strict time frame, and as most of you all know, I get going and run out of time and go over time, so I'll go quickly. Krista Orsak, our Director of Marketing, is here today. My name is Terry Schmidt. We are with the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we are here to quickly review our budget. You should have each received a folder by now. Inside the folder on the right side is the budget summary. On the left side, you will see last year's annual report. Along with underneath that is our mission statement and our Sioux Falls promise. Just to quickly review, the reason that the Sioux Falls CVB exists is to bring visitors to Sioux Falls. Why do we bring visitors to Sioux Falls? To create economic benefit. Visitors come to town, stay in hotels, eat in restaurants, go shopping, go to attractions, go to events, buy gas, forget their toothbrush and have to go buy a toothbrush, trip on the sidewalk and end up having to break their arm and go to the doctor and decide that's the best car they've ever seen on that car lot and go buy that car. And the list goes on and on and on. They create dollars in our community. And by doing that, they create jobs. And by making those purchases, they increase our sales tax. So the visitor industry is a strong development partner of economic development, and we are here to make sure that happens and to increase that in any way that we can. We are funded by room tax and by the bid. The bid was formed in 2011. I think everyone here knows that. It is a $2 per room per night fee on all hotel rooms of hotels 40 plus rooms. That bid was developed in order to increase the amount of budget for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. It can be used for sales and marketing of the City of Sioux Falls in order to increase the number of visitors who stay in our community on an annual basis. I want to point out that sometimes there's a little confusion about the bid tax and the room tax. The visitors pay for that. The hotels collect it, and then it goes through the city. And the room tax side, it goes through the state as well, and then it comes to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Our budget process is rather lengthy. We write the budget, it goes through the bid board. The bid board approves it, it goes to the CBB Executive Committee. They approve it, it goes to the Chamber Executive Committee. They approve it, it goes to the Chamber Budget and Finance Committee, and then it goes to the Chamber Full Board of Directors, and then it comes to you. So by the time it gets to you, it has been pretty much chewed up and reviewed in about every direction that is possible. But certainly you may have questions today too, so we'll look forward to those from you. At this time, we'll jump quickly into reviewing the budget. You have, excuse me, as I said in your packet, the bid budget, which is the blue sheet on the right side of your packet. We are estimating, we meaning the Chamber's accountant who we are ultimately underneath for our accounting, we are estimating that the bid will generate about $2,010,000 for this next year. That is based on past history. It is also based on what we see on the books, and it's based on talking to some of the hotels and looking at some of the industry research in that we are expecting a little bit of a flat year possibly coming before us. So we're always one that likes to be a little bit more conservative rather than going over the edge and saying we're going to, you know, hit 2.5 million, whatever. We'd rather take that a little bit carefully. So we've written our budget accordingly. You will see that the bid allocation for administration is typically shared between the CVB and the bid side. When I say the CVB, that's the room tax side of the budget. When I say the bid, that's the bid side of the budget. And so it is now brought over to the bid side of the budget. Next, under Program and Services, Krista, if you want to jump in as Director of Marketing and talk a bit about the sales development advertising.
Good afternoon. I'll raise the mics a little bit taller. So proposed for sales development advertising. I wasn't sure you heard me. Digital, we have a budget of just over $427,000, which is an increase of $254,000 on the bid side. But when you look at the CVB and bid side, it's an increase of $76,000. We're very excited this coming year we'll bring smarter technologies. That's kind of our theme going into the coming year. Implemented through various strategies including elevated email segmentation, website enhancement, enhanced reporting, social media content, research and persona evolution, continued branding and visitor guide promotion, along with a brand new strategic planner effort to increase lead generation for the sales team members. Overall, more strategically placed video and written content, both dynamically and automatically distributed or displayed. The working smarter mentality will produce a greater return on investment, even better tracking, and more conversions through the main channel consumers are demanding and engaging with, which is digital. All right, moving along into sports publications. We have budgeted just over $24,000. This is a decrease of $12,975,000 on the bid side and overall. So all of those print publications will come out of the bid side of the budget. This still includes high for impact print placements and a couple different directory items that again align with research, market trends, and overall strategic sales efforts. Trade publications, the budget we have proposed is $50,785,000, which is a decrease of over $140,000 on the bid side, but the overall decrease is $55,000. This still includes 16 high-impact print placements that align with sales efforts, the research and market trends that we abide by. All right, are we moving into bidding?
Okay, the next category is sales development bidding. The first four, where you see the blanks at the top, were bid commitments from this past year. So moving on to meeting planner incentive program, you'll see at $10,000. That's a new program that we started this last year to incentivize organizations to look at Sioux Falls. If an organization has 200 rooms booked on one night and is a new piece of business, and they choose to book Sioux Falls, we will give them a $1,000 incentive. To us, $1,000 incentive seems really amazing. Our competition is offering up to $25,000 per group for an incentive. So while it's minimal in the eyes of the competition, for us it's a big step. You can go on down to see bid meetings and leads, pre-promotion requirements at $15,000. That's when we book a group and they say, okay, if we choose Sioux Falls for 2020, in 2019, will you accompany our association convention in Atlanta? And in Atlanta, we want you to set up a booth and pre-promote in order to get people excited to register to come to Sioux Falls in 2020. Lead source list, planner, promo, gift, mailer, those are mostly mailers. What can we mail out to planners to, again, get their excitement going about Sioux Falls, make them realize that we have what it takes to host their group. Sales gifts. Again, it's kind of like the $1,000 incentive. We send out a water bottle mug that we think is big time, and another city will send out a leather jacket with their name on it. But hey, we're in there and we're getting our name out there. It's all, you know, it's all relative, I guess. Site visits and FAMs at $10,000. When a planner wants to come in and look you over, you pay. So that's what that's about. A FAM tour is kind of the same thing, a familiarization tour. We want to come in and look you over. Target market luncheons, that's something here in the community where we might get a group of business people together, or a group of nurses, or a group of teachers, and say, hey, you guys all belong to an association or a group of some sort. Talk to us about what you belong to so we can go after that group and see if they can bring a convention, meeting, or event to Sioux Falls. The bid opportunity fund at $88,000. This is something that has been under a lot of discussion by the bid board and also some of our city leadership. There is a wish by many that we would incentivize local groups, give them money to help them get going in Sioux Falls, give them money to help cover expenses should they need it. For example, Krista, will you pass out, let's see, pass this one first, and then this one. The blue chart that Krista is going to pass out, I want you to see that because that will show you dollar for dollar every cent that the CVB bid has invested to groups who have come and asked us for money. And you will see that it is not a small amount of money that has come through the bid budget and the CVB budget. The next one that she is passing around is money that we've also invested in groups, but it did not come directly from the Bid Opportunity Fund. It came from the CVB side. Perhaps it was something that was not a direct sponsorship per se, or something that the bid board said, we don't feel we should invest in this, but overall the CVB needed to make some supportive gesture to a group. Maybe it was a small ad, maybe it was a small sponsorship that didn't quite fit that of the bid board. Now you'll see under that $88,000, you'll see ASA, which is National Softball, Midwest Regional Soccer, NSIC Softball, One Hockey, Pheasant Fest, and South Dakota Sculpture Trail. These groups have already come before the bid board, made a formal request, and have been approved for future years. On the documents that you just received, you will see the year that their request was made. So maybe one group came in and said, we need $5,000 for XYZ event for 2017. So it is listed under 2017 in your document. That leaves, of that $62,000, that leaves us $26,000 more to go in the next fiscal year based on our budget under just that category. Under sales development, travel, bid trips, $8,500. The only one that we absolutely have scheduled right now is a national softball bid coming up in November. Sales blitzes at $15,000. We'll be going to Chicago, Minneapolis, and Des Moines, where we qualify, we research, qualify, and go in and go one-on-one with planners to see if we can get their business. Sometimes it takes up to 3 years to go back and go back and go back, but we have to open the door and get in their face. Trade and travel shows, $73,850. That's for 13 shows. Previously, we've gone to 18 to 20 shows, so we've rearranged that a bit. And then down, so that brings us under total sales development of $806,078. And then Krista will quickly cover the tourism promotion and advertising.
Okay, under tourism, promotion, advertising, travel publications, we've proposed a budget of $102,000 with $4,000 income, a decrease of $59,485 on the bid side, and a decrease of $34,000 overall across both budgets. This includes 8 leisure publications and 7 group tour print publications. The majority of these publications produce leads in the form of, for leisure, it's a visitor guide request, or for the group tour publications, it's a group tour operator looking to plan their trip, so we can have direct follow-up to those. And then so that line item is, again, $102,988. Then moving down to South Dakota Tourism Co-ops, we have a total expense of $194,750. This includes $165,000 in income. We are lucky to partner with the state on this effort. The expense total is just over $12,000 on the bid side and overall. Through these miscellaneous efforts, the state continues to match advertising campaigns with Brand USA to reach international visitors, fall regional newspaper drop, fall and spring magazine co-op effort, group tour co-op effort, the vacation guide, and 2 major leisure efforts that take place in the winter and the spring. The total line item for tourism promotion and advertising is $297,738 proposed.
Okay, then that brings us to a total for program and services of $1,272,816 with income of $169,000 from partners, showing our expenses come in at $1,103,816. We do project a break-even budget. However, you never know as the year goes what exactly may take place. Now, in order to completely confuse you, you do have the Cbb budget in your packet as well, and I know that was not on the agenda for us to present to you today, but we want to make sure that you have those numbers as well. And it does get a little confusing because, as Krista said, you know, some of it's on the bid side, some of it's on the CVB side. We try to, when we write the budget, put as much on the bid side as possible that's directly sales and marketing. We want that to be as clear as it can be because that ordinance and those bylaws are extremely specific and we need to follow those. After we get done writing the bid budget, we take everything else that we have written and we try to plug it into the CVB side. We try to make, like with the digital, we tried to get it all on one side to make it more manageable, make more sense rather than having a part of it here and part of it there. Does that make sense to you? Because I know it does get confusing. And the other part I know that we always need to discuss and remind ourselves is that while we're funded through the city, we are a division under the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, meaning that we have to be on their fiscal year. Their fiscal year is October 1 to October 1. That is not the same as the city's, so we get to play that balancing game as well. We do have, Krista, will you also pass out these two right here? We're also going to give you exact income as we have received on both the bid income and the room tax income. as we have received it from the city. So you will have those exact numbers as we have them. And I won't go through all that, but just so you have them. Okay, that's 15 minutes, Mr. Chairman. We could keep going if you'd like us to tell you everything that's going on, but we do have a video we'd love to show you, but it's 6 minutes long. So that, Mr. Chair, will be up to you if there's time or not for that. But questions?
I think regarding the video, if after our Denny Sanford Premier Center report, if we have the time, we may come back to the video. And Jim, are you prepared to have that set up and ready if we do have the 6 minutes? Because just to clarify, we do, in order to have, we need to leave 10 minutes to change over from this meeting to the joint city-county meeting, so we do need to conclude by 4:50. But having said that and clarified that, I'll open it up to questions. Councilor Erpenbach.
Thank you, Terry. You're always so boring and quiet. I just never really know how to manage this. I just wanted to, and it's just kind of a little pet thing of mine right now. I just wanted to look at, and I'm looking at the other things that you've been doing, and I'm looking specifically at the trolley because it's been, right, I'm sorry, it's been up in the air, right?
Yep.
Talk to me about that. You've put some money toward it to help downtown Sioux Falls. Talk to me about that and what's the value of it for you, and what's kind of your thought behind where that should go?
Well, the trolley's fun. It's an added little fun thing, not little, it's an added fun thing when, you know, you're downtown Sioux Falls and you're walking and, gosh, we can jump on the trolley and go to the falls, or you're at the falls and you can jump on and go up Phillips Avenue. Is it a reason that people come to Sioux Falls? This is just my opinion, not the bid boards, not the CBB council. My opinion is no. I think it's an added fun thing to do when they get here. It adds a little charm. I wish that it could be a program that would go outside of downtown. I mean, I know downtown is our heart and our soul and a very busy place and an awesome place, but there are other places that visitors want to go to. And whether it be, you know, a route that hits the convention center and Denny Sanford Premier Center and swings over around the zoo and hits the Butterfly House and the outdoor campus, and I know I'm leaving some out, so I'm going to get in trouble, but you know what I mean, and swing on around and hit some other things and come back. I wish that's what the trolley was doing. The bid board said no to putting money into the trolley because, you know, is it specifically creating room nights? Not that we can document. But out of just trying to collaborate and be good partners, as we all try to do in this town to make things right, you know, we went ahead and gave some out of the CBB side. I don't know that that will continue because I think our dollars are getting stretched more every year, and they're going to be more and more focused on what can deliver the ROI now. I'm not, you know, just out there, but really, truly right here.
Right.
I'm really just not really answering your question very well.
No, you...
I'm kind of dancing around.
I see the dance, and I understand the dance, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
I appreciate you being candid with us in this forum as well. So thank you, and I appreciate the report, too.
Thank you.
Councilor Staley.
Terry, and let me also echo Councilwoman Erpenbach's words that I love your energy. I love what you do for our community. I think you are just a great blessing to Sioux Falls. A few questions for you, Terry. Mm-hmm. How many hotel motel rooms do we have in our community?
I think we're right just about at 5,000, 4,900 some.
And then, and I haven't, this is my first time around on this, but as I'm looking through these things, some things denied, some things paid. What's the procedure you do? Do you all come together and look through this and talk it through?
Anyone who is interested in requesting funding from the bid board is given a form to fill out. That form is returned to me. It is then put on the agenda of the upcoming bid board meeting. It is presented to the bid board, and those people are very welcome to come before the bid board and take a few minutes to explain why and what that money would be used for. The bid board then votes on it, and that group is informed of the decision.
And how often does that group meet?
4 times a year.
And so this is open to anybody, any group that is promoting itself?
Well,
what are the limitations if
the
someone
limit,
wants?
I mean, as far as we have to go back to why was the bid formed? The bid was formed to increase the number of room night sales in Sioux Falls. So if someone comes before the group and is asking for money to promote something that has nothing to do with overnight stays, I'm going to guess it's going to get denied. But if it has a certain number of room nights that the board feels is advantageous to the overall benefit of the city, it's likely to get approved. As you can see on the chart, there's repeat business that gets approved and there's new business that gets approved. One of the discussions the bid board has had most recently, and I expect to have even in more depth soon, is how many times does the bid board give the same group money? Or is it more of a startup situation to get something new going in Sioux Falls? And there is that discussion out there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, time for maybe one more quick question, then we'll need to move forward.
Okay, I'll make it quick.
Councilor Silber.
Thanks for being here.
Sure.
Quick question, like this meeting planner incentive program you
Yes.
talked about. So the breakdown is you said it's $1,000 incentive, so you have like 10 of those to work with.
We hope
if
so.
I'm doing the math. So does that make a difference? Has it landed business when you talk about you've got competition out there that's offering $25,000 and that type things? Is it something that has brought things to town? It's worked?
Well, we're just getting going with it.
This is a first. Okay.
Yeah,
all
I
right,
mean,
wasn't sure.
we had it in place last year, but we really didn't run with it.
Okay.
Now we're really running with it.
Okay.
Because we have a set amount, and we've got everything in place, and the sales team is going after it.
Yeah, I was just curious because you said like that, and then the other programs where we might have a certain water bottle and they've got a leather jacket, or I was just kind of curious how we stack up sometimes in some of that.
Sometime I'll show you the exhibits that were at a show that we were just at. Blow your mind.
Kind of tough, yeah. Thank you.
Terry,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. And Terry will be available this evening because they will be on the agenda again. So if you do have additional questions, you can ask them at that point in time.
If I could make one last comment. I just wanted to thank you all for your support of Sioux Falls and the visitor industry. And I guarantee you that we work hard to deploy that money that you go through all the processes to allow us to go out and sell. And we do our best to bring the best business to Sioux Falls. So thank you all very much.
You are welcome, Terry, and I do know that you also enjoy the support of the hospitality industry for what your efforts as well. Okay, moving forward, time for the Denny Sanford Premier Center report, and it's going to be given by Tom Huber, Assistant Finance, and Terry Torkelson is available as well as Chad and Chan Stoner with Spectra General Manager. So, Tom, welcome.
Good afternoon, councilors. Tom Huber with the Finance Office. Tracy had an unexpected family emergency, and but no worries. I've got plenty of backup back here with Chad and Terry, as well as the Tegra Group and Kendra. So to quickly take a quick look at, going to cover the quick recap of the Denny Sanford Premier Center project. Going to talk the primary objective to cover some of the upcoming improvements that are to be done with the Day 2 monies, and then cover briefly the first full year of operation in 2015. Quick project recap. Project completed under budget. You've heard that before. Completed on time, and we did what we said we were going to do. No new or increased taxes. No property or first penny sales tax used. Operating the events center in the black with positive operating income. no general taxes to support operations, and more events, bigger events, certainly a wide variety of events that we've seen out there over the past a little over a year, and leveraging public and private partnerships. Received over $3 million in revenue from naming rights, sponsorships, advertisements, and premium seating. So all things that we said we were going to do when we started this project and have done. A quick financial recap. The project budget of $117 million. Everyone should recall that that includes the $115 million that was bonded, as well as the $2 million in title sponsorship, additional donation for the center hung scoreboard that was given. The remaining budget is $2.8 million. It's basically 2.4% of the project budget. Part of the plan all along was to leave some dollars available for day 2 improvements once we were up and operating the facility and knew what additional improvements would be needed. Maybe a little bit more than we originally planned, because the project was very well managed, and as well as having Tegra's support. It certainly gives us the opportunity now to capitalize on some of the things that we've learned over the last, since we've been operating. Some of the upcoming improvements that we're going to cover today to make the facility even better. Some of the needs that with the day 2 money are the main concourse, cooler and storage space, and kitchen renovation and expansion for the interior, and then some exterior lighting. These are all to be funded with the remaining bond proceeds, and no change to the budget. Does not increase the budget. So with that, I'm going to introduce Chad Stoner from Spectra to talk a little bit about a couple of these projects.
Thank you. Yeah, Chad Stoner, General Manager with Spectra Food Services. Just speaking on the building improvements of the main concourse and kitchen expansion. I'll start with the main concourse. We've had a successful time with opening this building, and we're just needing to address some operational inefficiencies within the food and beverage operation, along with improving some product quality. Currently, the existing cooler and dry storage space is in the convention center kitchen, slightly far away from the Premier Center. That space isn't quite adequate enough to get us through all of these sellout concerts that we've been having with the volume of sales that we've had. So with a centrally located cooler and storage build-out, staff would be working in like a low traffic area away from patrons and not disrupting. As I said, our cold storage is not adequate to hold the amount of cold product needed to get through a show, so we currently stock our beverage ports with warm beverage, and we have to wait for it to cool down in an ice bath, which can take up to about 15 minutes, slowing down sales and just slowing down service. The added cooler space would allow for product to be cold immediately and be brought out and stocked and restocked during events. The loading dock is the backstage area of the Premier Center. This space is often clogged up during a show with food and beverage staff, building staff, and show staff. With this centrally located area, the food and beverage staff would just be taken out of that equation, and we'd have less congestion in that area. The other building improvement is a kitchen expansion on the original Convention Center kitchen. The Convention Center kitchen services 4 buildings: the Convention Center, Premier Center, the Sioux Falls Arena, and the Orpheum Theater. In 2015, the kitchen did $4 million in catering sales alone, just over $300,000 in catering each month, just to give you an idea of the incredible volume that we do in that area. The kitchen expansion would give staff more room to work, along with additional storage to handle all 4 buildings. The kitchen equipment within the kitchen is shared between buildings at times, and the time that that equipment is used must be limited just because of the event load that we may have in order for us to give quick service. Our suite menus are directly affected by that, and what I mean by that is we've got some quick fry items that we've got on that menu that we can put on a platter and send up right away just so we can give that quick service. Having too many items like that on a suite menu isn't quite as satisfying as a fresh menu concept, for our suite holders. And by satisfying our suite holders, we'll continue to gain those revenue contributions from their suite leases and renewals. And of course, increase catering sales with a better food and beverage coming out of that kitchen. And that's really all I've got. I will let Terry come up and speak about exterior lighting.
Good afternoon, Terry Torkelson, General Manager of the Denny Sanford Premier Center. I will try and make exterior lighting as exciting as the CVB's presentation. I may not be successful with that though. Currently the exterior lighting at the site, a lot of it was installed back in 1995 and 96 when the convention center was originally built. They are a metal halide light, so they are somewhat inefficient. We would like to switch them out and change them to LED fixtures. Many of the poles, some of the ones you see in the picture, were removed during construction and then were put back in place. There are approximately 140 fixtures on the site. The average age is between 15 and 20 years old. The maintenance on them alone has become rather extensive because several of the fixtures are no longer manufactured, so when a fixture goes out, you have to replace the entire unit on top of the pole and retrofit it to fit. These lamps don't have the life of an LED, so we're out there frequently. The work requires a bucket truck, and in South Dakota, the conditions are not always conducive to replacing the lamps in a timely basis. In the fall, we need those lights on all the time. So the LEDs themselves would also save about 50% over the energy costs we currently have. These lights are not sub-metered, so we do not know specifically what the usage is or consumption rate, because some come from the Premier Center, some come from the hotel, and some are powered from the Canaries Stadium site. It would also give us better control. Right now, some are on timers, some are on photo eyes, and some are mechanical. So having them all together under the system that we use for the Premier Center and the Convention Center, we can program that in advance. One of the timers is actually mechanical, and as we progress into the fall, our grounds guy has to go over every week and change the timer to make sure they come on and off at the proper times. This would also allow us to replace the existing poles. The total project value is about $400,000. Also give you a brief summary of our first full year. Many of you have heard us talk about the 135 event days we've hosted in the Premier Center. Now that does not include the Convention Center, Arena, and Orpheum. Would go up over between 700 and 800 when you add those facilities. You can see the list of events we had. We did have 11 sold out shows with a total attendance of 645,000. I went back and looked at just concerts, and just concerts since we opened and through the Journey concert we just had, we've had 300,000 people go through the building, and that's actual attendance. From 1989, when we started keeping records at the Metallica concert in June, when SMG took over the facility, until the Premier Center opened, we did just over 1 million people through the building. So in 2 years, we've done a third of what we had done in the previous 25. Some photos of some of the events. The fact that we have USHL hockey that sells out. We do the wiener dog races once a year. It's our highest attended event. You know, if you ever want to sell something out, just race wiener dogs on ice. But there are some USHL teams that draw 600 people. And on a regular basis, we're drawing 6,000. So our food and beverage sales, the things that, you know, it's another opportunity for our premium seat holders, for our sponsors. And, you know, the fact that those events alone are as well attended as they are is an amazing thing. The same with the Sioux Falls Storm. The Summit League, again, a huge success, 65,000 people coming to our community. The USD fans are starting to catch on, and so I only expect to see that number go up. And then the 11 sold-out concerts has been pretty amazing. Eric Church had our highest gross for food and beverage sales. Last time he was here at $25 per person, and we're very glad that he's coming back as well. So it's very exciting. When it comes to the budget, in the Premier Center, we operated at a $1.9 million net income. Once you take out the cost of operating the arena and the Orpheum, that drops down to about $1 million. So we had $1 million net for the entire entertainment complexes that we manage. We are continuing to use that to support those facilities, as well as establish a reserve fund. So in the future, we can, if need be, do maintenance and repairs, as well as some of the other capital investments. Try to do that as quick as possible. With that, there's questions. Dick Strasberg is here from Tegra. We have Keith from Coke Hazard, who was the local architect that did the work on the Premier Center originally, as well as designed our current projects.
Okay, and I think we are going to go a little overtime here because I do believe this is a topic that we should discuss. I know the county is scheduled for 5. However, we did have to reschedule. So I guess if we can go through this as quickly as possible, and then hopefully we can complete the changeover in less than 10 minutes as well. So, Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. Probably a question for Tom. Thank you for being here, by the way, but I have a couple questions in regards to the money. The $2.8 million remaining budget, is that $1 million settlement included in that? Or is that separate?
Any of the settlement dollars would be in this.
That is also included, the settlement dollars. So are those tracked, if I can just, I'll be quick. Are the settlement dollars tracked separately, or is it just, here's what's left over, and we added that $1 million settlement for the event center siding in there as well?
I don't believe we did any separate tracking of any of the settlement dollars. Okay.
That was my question with that. And then I'm curious who identified all of the improvements. I mean, how did that conversation come up? Was it really just with Terry and his team, as well as food and beverage with Mr. Stoner, or how was that?
Would have included the full group, the full project team, as well as the operators, the ones that are living it on a daily basis to again, as we have always talked about, try to make these facilities as efficient as possible. We expect them to generate an income, and they need the tools to do that. And so, of course, we closely collaborate with Terry and Chad and their teams. So.
Perfect. And one last question, if I can. On page 4, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is for you or for Mr. Stoner, but the kitchen expansion shows several offices in there. I'm curious who will use those offices, and if the Sioux Falls utility billing office that's soon going to be vacated, if that plays a role into anything with the event center.
Yeah, so with the expansion, we're going to be losing office space with an expansion of coolers. So those offices are being added for the food and beverage staff that currently reside in those offices. So,
perfect.
Does that answer your
Yep,
question?
that answers my question. And maybe the second part that Terry could answer is if the Sioux Falls utility, the billing utility office will be vacated soon, and if there's a plan for storage or what you guys are planning to do with that, if anything.
We, if we were allowed to utilize it, we most definitely could. Right now, we really don't have a good place for our employees to check in and check out. We do have a grounds maintenance portion of the building where we store our equipment and where our staff is. If we could relocate that, that would give us that capability, as well as we have a lot of backstock equipment that's stored in 13 semis out at the fairgrounds that we haul back and forth. If we could get rid of some of that, that would also help us defer some costs, because those are about $1,200 a year each.
So would you foresee major changes needing to take place for you to be able to use that space best?
No major changes, really. We could, minor alterations, we could utilize the facility.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, Counselor.
I have one quick question, but I have to say, on behalf of my wife, get Ed Sheeran back. And also, if you could get Fanta Orange or Root Beer, some non-caffeinated pops in the fountains, there'd be more options. She always has to drink Sierra Mist. So what is your proposed timing of these building improvements?
As soon as we would get approval of them, we would like to commence. Some of that work could start virtually immediately. I know Keith has the plans fairly well along, so.
And I will also echo your sentiment that I've been to other USHL arenas and been a Stampede season ticket holder for 10 years. World-class facility, NHL quality. And it's unbelievable that you can put 10,000 or more people that I'll see in there. Because I go to other venues, and like you said, you might have 1,000 or less.
And
So it's
we are bidding
incredible.
on the 2018 NHL regional, or the, NCAA regional hockey tournament. So.
Really?
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and my apology for the shortness in time. We had to cancel our city-county meeting previously and reschedule it today. Plus, we added our staff report. So anyway, with that being said, this meeting is adjourned, and we will start the City-County Commission as soon as Tony downstairs is ready to roll and we get the green light. So this meeting is adjourned.